¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning. How's it going, everybody? Let me just make sure we got ourselves together here. Okay, there we go. More or less. That's good enough. How's it going, everybody? Let me make sure, actually. since we did start a little bit late, later than I wanted, we're gonna have to run through a bunch of these stories before we get to um, the IPCC report. Oops. I turned off the music. Sorry about that. There we go. Thank you for bearing with me as we get ourselves together here. Hey Thundera, how's it going? Howdy, howdy. Is that a best cat dad ever? Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That is indeed the best cat dad ever. In fact, oh, it's because my microphone is blocking it. There you go, cat. I don't know if you can see it. My girlfriend got me this shirt, so I think it's pretty appropriate, I would say. Nice. I think so. I think so. I think it's pretty neat. The funny thing is it actually has the closest, because like they have like default templates, so you can't like upload the exact, picture. But Makita's name, just ask Makita. Right there. Look at that. Isn't that neat? A custom cat dad shirt? Yeah, it's as custom as it can get, okay? The only thing that would be missing would be like an exact replica. But yeah, it's as custom as you can make it. You can put her your pet's name. It's pretty neat. I want a custom shirt of my dog, but as an album cover. That would be nice. That would be very, very nice. All right, folks. It is crunch time. Okay, we got time on our hands. We gotta limit ourselves here. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Just bear with me because I'm working with one screen here. So. Sweet. Okay. I wonder if I could just make the chat stay at the front. There's also a way of making your pet into like a Pokemon card. I think it's called Pokify your pet or something like that. That's a pretty neat one. Okay, I don't want... How do I pop up the chat? There we go. Cool, now I can see... Alright, now I can see everybody. There's supposed to be the most significant tornado outbreak in 3 years tonight? Jeez. Yikes. That is horrifying. That is horrifying. Is that like in your area? 25 tornadoes are supposed to happen in the next 48 hours in Tornado Alley. Holy yikes. That is wild. That is definitely unusual. That is definitely unusual. Weird. Alright, folks. We gotta see how much we can cover. Let's start with this one, I guess. California utility to pay $55 million for massive wildfires. PG&E has agreed to pay more than $55 million to avoid criminal charges, or prosecution, I guess, for two major wildfires sparked in North California by its aging power lines. Hey KTS Shine, how's it going? I wish the state would pass us that gas rebate money. Oof. Pay us that gas rebate money, gotcha. PG&E, the nation's largest utility, has agreed to pay more than $55 million to avoid criminal prosecution for two major wildfires sparked by its aging Northern California power lines and submit to 5 years of oversight in an attempt to prevent more deadly blazes. The company didn't acknowledge any wrongdoing in the settlement, announced Monday with prosecutors in 6 counties ravaged by last year's Dixie Fire and the 2019 Kincaid Fire. The utility still faces criminal charges for a 2020 wildfire in Shasta County that killed 4 people. The civil settlements are designed to accelerate payments to hundreds of people whose homes were destroyed so that they can start rebuilding more quickly than those who suffered the devastating losses in 2017 and 2018 blazes ignited by PG&E's equipment. Jesus Christ. Listen, if these companies are just incapable of just for 1 second not think about just solely profit, if they're incapable of doing that, especially energy companies, which provide a vital necessity, then they should be nationalized. I'm still paying $6 a gas on a good day. What? Holy yikes. And what state? Is this in Cali? Sheesh. Those fires prompted the utility to negotiate settlements that included $13.5 billion earmarked for victims, money that still hasn't been completely distributed. Yeah, screw that. Nah, screw that. They should just be nationalized. Why are there private energy companies? California? Wow. Yikes. The deal also thrust the utility back into 5 years of independent oversight, similar to the supervision PG&E faced during its criminal probation after it was convicted of misconduct that contributed to a natural gas explosion that killed Oh my god, this like company has like incident after incident after incident. And like it keeps happening. It keeps happening and nothing save a slap on the wrist has been done. Clearly they don't care, as they have done it over and over and over again. This is like... This must be... I mean, if you keep doing this knowingly, I have to take I have to take... The only thing I can take away from this is that it's, well, purposeful. That contributed to a natural gas explosion that killed 8 people in 2010. Sonoma County District Attorney Joe Ravitch said that the oversight was the biggest accomplishment to come from this settlement. Jesus, really? We have limited tools in criminal law to deal with corporations, and what we were able to do here was get a 5-year agreement that they will be overseen, that there will be an independent monitor, and that they will have to meet certain benchmarks. Wow. All told, PG&E has been blamed for more than 30 wildfires since 2017 that wiped out more than 23,000 homes and businesses and killed more than 100 people. Yeah, this is like criminal negligence at this point. PG&E's federal probation ended in late January, raising worries from the federal judge who tried to force the utility to reduce fire risk by requiring more maintenance and reporting. Yeah, and if they're incapable of doing this because, they have to focus on what they're going to deliver for their shareholders, if they're incapable of doing this, then nationalize them. By more maintenance and reporting, U.S. District Judge William Alsup warned that PG&E remained a continuing menace to California and urged state prosecutors to try to rein in the company that provides power to 16 million people. Yeah, basically the idea that we should be putting profit above everything is continuing, especially with something so important such as energy. Over 16 million people, they're using that as leverage, essentially. Sheesh. In a joint statement covering 5 of the 6 counties that settled, prosecutors said PG&E will be essentially on a 5-year probation to be overseen by Filsinger Energy Partners, which already acts as a safety monitor for California power regulators. PG&E will have to underwrite the federal monitor's costs up to $15 million annually, in addition to the $55 million in other payments and penalties that the utility expects to incur in the settlement. As part of their settlement, Sonoma County prosecutors agreed to drop 33 criminal charges filed last year that accused PG of inadvertently injuring 6 firefighters and endangering public health with smoke and ash from the Kincade fire that began in October of 2019. Fire officials said a PG&E transmission line sparked the fire, which destroyed 374 buildings in wine country and caused nearly 200,000 people to flee as it burned through 120 square miles, the largest evacuation in county history. Prosecutors said other 5 counties were exploring criminal charges in last year's Dixie Fire before cutting the deal that said they would result in far larger payouts than had they hauled PG&E into court. Because there were no deaths in the Dixie Fire, prosecutors said the utility would have had to pay a maximum penalty of $330,000 if it had been found guilty in a criminal case. Wow, that's it? Ravitch said that the state laws that limit punishment against a corporation to probation and fines help motivate the settlement. She said if PG&E had been successfully prosecuted in this, Sonoma County would have paid a fine of just $9.4 million, most of which would have gone to the state. Instead, the county will now receive more than $20 million earmarked for nonprofits that help people affected by the wildfires and for Santa Rosa Junior College so that it can expand fire safety and vegetation management programs. It will also reimburse the DA's office for the cost of investigating and litigating the case. Even when P&G pleaded guilty to 84 felony counts of involuntary manslaughter for the deaths of the 2018 campfire, the company was fined just $3.5 million. So, it literally is worse to find them guilty? What's the point of that then? What's the point of having the ability to prosecute or have regulations if just settling is actually more beneficial? Then what's the point? In a statement, PG&O CEO Patty Poppe said the utility welcomed the chance to be more transparent and ultimately more accountable for its operations. Bro, this has been a problem for decades. Okay, buddy. Don't worry, folks. You can trust us this time. You can trust us this time. Quote, we are committed to doing our part and we look forward to a long partnership with these communities to make it right and make it safe. Nah, I don't trust it. The money that PG&E will pay as part of the settlements will account for just a sliver of its anticipated liabilities in the Kincaid, Zog, and Dixie fires. As of December 31st, PG&E estimated it will likely be responsible for at least $2.3 billion in losses stemming from those wildfires. Some of those estimated $1.15 billion in damages caused by the Dixie Fire may be paid by a state-backed insurance fund that California lawmakers created after PG&E filed for bankruptcy in 2019. The Dixie Fire burned nearly 1 million acres, 3,900 square kilometers in Butte, Plumas, Lassen, Shasta, and Tehama counties, and destroyed more than 1,300 homes and other buildings. The blaze started on July 13 of 2021 when a tree hit electrical distribution lines west of a dam in the Sierra Nevada, according to investigators with the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. The settlement was for the Dixie Fire was made by district attorneys in Plumas, Lassen, Tehama, and the Butte counties, which will receive nearly $30 million. Although her office participated in the Dixie Fire settlement, Shasta County District Attorney Stephanie Bridget said she will continue to pursue a criminal case related to the Zog Fire, which killed 4 people. I'm still shocked by the leniency shown to a corporation like this. How much destruction this corporation is responsible for, and still it is allowed to continue. Unbelievable. And the end result being that regulatory powers, like the regulations and actual cases against them, would end up being worse for the victims. Settling is considered the better option. That's what blows my mind, because the whole point of settling is because you're trying to evade the worst ends of the consequences. But at the end of the day, if the regulations end up being not that big of a deal, the consequences for violating these regulations end up not being that beneficial to victims, then what's the point? Hey, Spread It Forward, how's it going? At this point, since 2010, if you've been accused, and there's plenty of evidence to suggest that you're negligent, I mean, man, as an individual, you could never get away with any of this. Can you imagine if you found a way, if you had a, negligent, with a car, negligent homicide with a car, and it ended up being that you're allowed to continue to do that. You're allowed to negligently homicide several people over years and still continue to operate a vehicle. Can you imagine? Because that's basically what happened here. That's basically what happened here. If a normal individual person negligently Robloxed people, several people, for years, one would think that after the first one, they would be in jail or they would be forced to pay massive civil liabilities that would be worse if they were convicted. But a corporation can do it over and over and over and over and over again. Literally killing people because of their negligence and still allowed to continue to operate as if and then when finally things catch up to them, they just file for bankruptcy. And the folks who had a hand in those decision making, well, nothing happens to them. No sweat off their back, right? The people who made those negligent decisions to not take care of the infrastructure on purpose they get to go essentially scot-free. Nice meme. Good memes. Alright, so the other day we went over a story that the Biden administration has decided. I mean, again, this is. They could just, create programs to start relieving student debt, but instead, they continue to kick the can down the road essentially by extending the payment deadlines or the repayment deadlines. So instead of May, I want to say, they pushed it back again to August. I mean, if they want to do that, why not just do it indefinitely, right? Instead of just solving the problem, stop kicking the can down the road in perpetuity. Here we have the Biden administration will give millions of student loan borrowers in default a fresh start. So, chances are, this is not for everybody, but chances are that because of the financial situation, I'm going to assume that there's a big chunk of people who are beginning to, or who have fallen behind on things like student loan payments because, and this is true, people need to eat. People need to make sure that they have a roof over their head. And unfortunately, the cost of living plus depressed wages aren't enough. Aren't it, Chief? All right? It's not enough. And so something's got to give. And I assume that because of that, student loan payments have, taken taken a back seat in comparison to, food. And then, to make matters worse, a cool pandemic happened. And just really kick things out of off the cliff there. What is happening in the New York train station? A mass shooting, but explosives involved? I don't know, Tendero. I mean, we could check it out. That sounds wild. Yeah, you're right. Jesus Christ. Stop trying to give me ads, dude. Multiple people shot undetonated devices found in Brooklyn subway. My goodness. Multiple people. Stop trying to. Man, some of these news websites. Holy yikes. Anyways. Multiple people have been shot in a Brooklyn subway station, and several undetonated devices were also found at the location, according to fire officials and 3 law enforcement sources. They stressed the investigation is still preliminary. Yikes. That's, Jeez. Unconfirmed, but it looks like there was undetonated devices. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't look good. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't look good. At least 5 people have been said to being shot by a man of 5'5" and 180 pounds who was wearing a gas mask and an orange construction vest. Sheesh. Yikes. That is deeply disturbing. Yikes. Yeah, that's wild, Dendera. Jeez. Unbelievable. That is just unbelievable. Okay. Okay. Putting the train back on the tracks. So the Biden administration decided to extend the payments back to August, and now they've announced that the ongoing payment pause would be extended for another 4 months. So now the Biden administration has announced that they were going to essentially put the folks who have been on default, because we've been having Trump made the best economy in the world, so much so that people were having trouble and defaulting on their loans before the pandemic, and then the pandemic kind of yeeted this yeeted this off the cliff. So now the Biden administration is going to pay up or catch up, put current the debt for millions of people. The U.S. Department of Education says it will move to put millions of loan borrowers out of default and mark their accounts as current. Even before the public health crisis, which is what we were talking about, troubles were common among student loan borrowers. Again, because we're doing so great, folks. The country's outstanding education debt balance exceeded $1.7 trillion and posed a larger burden to households than credit card or auto debt. Jesus. Roughly a quarter of student loan borrowers, or 10 million people, were estimated to be in delinquency or default and now stand to benefit from the announcement. So about 10 million people will benefit from this. The Education Department said these borrowers will be granted a fresh start on repayment by eliminating the impact of delinquency and default and allowing them to re-enter repayment in good standing. And I wonder how much this torpedoes, or does it even... Oh, okay, so it does affect your credit report, which is, again, such an asinine concept to begin with. But imagine doing everything right. Imagine doing everything right, attempting to better yourself by getting an education, trying to get a better job, and you come to find out in the real world, because of the system that we live under, wages, regardless, are not only insufficient, but to even get the said degree puts you in tens of thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands in debt, and then the payments start happening. You realize you can't catch a break. You then are forced to take whatever job comes because those payments are coming, whether you like it or not. And to make matters worse, this Brandon guy decided that you can't eliminate that when it comes to bankruptcy. And now we're here. You did everything right, and then you're forced into a perpetual hamster wheel, and just to make sure that you can even repay these payments, keep a roof over your head. Oh yeah, and food. That's important. Rent. And so now we're here. Now the government has been forced to do something about it, and in this case, they've opted for the most milquetoast approach possible. By just essentially catching up or putting in good standing the accounts of, 10 million people? About 10 million people. If they're putting all this money and effort into just making sure that people are good, like the accounts are in good standing, they've made an effort to push back the deadlines for repayments. I mean, if they continue to pour all this effort and money and resources, because obviously this has some type of cost, I imagine, why not divert those and just go to the root of the problem, which is just eliminate student debt as wherever you can as much as possible. It just doesn't make any sense. Benjamin P. Dixon Show coming in hot with 53 viewers. Thank you so much. Howdy, howdy. Ghost Dragon, how's it going? Howdy, howdy. Thank you so much. I appreciate the raid. Folks, if you're just coming in and you've never seen us before, C-Scope 2020, how's it going? Folks, if you have never seen us before, we are A Difficult Truth. We do news and politics Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Join us on Saturdays for Saturday Catterdays usually. Yes, please follow and double click. Thank you, I appreciate that. If you've never seen us before, we are ADT, A Difficult Truth. Yes, there are two of us. However, usually the co-host comes in on Saturdays, and that's when we do Saturday Catterdays. Monday through Thursdays, we do news and politics at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So I appreciate the raid. And yeah, if you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. You get 5 free emotes. Join us on the Discords, on the YouTubes. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much to the Benjamin P. Dixon Show. Thank you, Jamtoom. If you guys haven't already, please go show some love to Benjamin P. Dixon, to the Benjamin P. Dixon Show. Go show some love to Jamtoom. Office Nike, how's it going? Howdy, howdy. Good to see you too, my friend. Good to see you. You guys just came in to the story of the Biden administration pushing back the repayments and putting current about 10 million accounts when it comes to student debt. There's been a possible shooting. Yes, Office Nike. That is horrifying. Tendera alerted me to that just right before you wonderful folks came in here. Just before that, Tendera had alerted me to that. That is unbelievable. We got baby ducks I meant to get on Saturday and show y'all, but the windstorm is not letting up. We've had 40 plus miles. Wow. Yikes. Man named Who, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. I'm doing good. Good to hear, my friend. Oh, man. Oh, they're getting their feathers. That's so cute. That's cute. Not only has there been a possible shoot... Well, no, I think that there is definitely... The shooting is confirmed. What's being investigated is obviously the who did it, the person, and whether or not there was explosives as well. Apparently a guy threw explosives that didn't explode and just fired rounds at people. Yikes. That is just horrifying. That is just horrifying. I'm going to try to stream the Rocket Mass Heater Co-op this week. Cross fingers that the wind will break to let me. Crossing those fingers, my friend. I'm pretty sure a New York station is full of people in the morning. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. The intent was to make mass damage. The intent was to make mass damage, apparently. Folks, don't forget. please show some support to the Benjamin P. Dixon Show in the AMs. Please show support to Jam Tomb. Okay, so for the folks that are just coming in, we were actually doing this article. As I said, that the Biden administration is going to bring up accounts of about 10 million people, 10 million student loans in good standing current. And to which I say, while it is good, while I prefer that obviously they move in a more aggressive direction, I'll take it. However, I would put an asterisk on that, as I was saying earlier. If you're going to put all this energy, all this resources, which all this money, into repaying, getting everybody current, and pushing back the deadlines, time and time again, then why not just go to the root and just start eliminating student debt? I mean, just do it already. It's so milquetoast when they could be doing so much more. The Biden administration could be doing so much more. And sorry, I kind of got lost. My train of thought got lost as to where I was going with my earlier statements. So you do everything right. You get a degree. You realize the real world hits you. You realize that you just cancel the damn debt, Brandon. Jesus. This Brandon guy, really. I'm telling you. And so you do everything right. You get an education. You attempt to get yourself an education. You end up with tens of thousands of dollars in debt, sometimes hundreds of thousands, trying to do the right thing. You come to realize that that's not how the real world works. And despite doing all that, wages, they're not living wages. They're not even keeping up with what you should be paid for having a degree. Degrees are unbelievably expensive. And you come to find that payments start. The job that you have isn't exactly ideal. And then, as I said, you realize the payments need to start, so you need to find a job, whichever one comes. Most often, they are below living wages. And so the hamster wheel starts. The perpetual hamster wheel starts. And here we are. And here we are, the federal government having to relieve that by just putting people up current instead of just doing what they can to eliminate it and give people a financial boost. Guaranteed. 99% of these people do want to work. 99% of these people do want to get themselves in a better situation, but they can't. President Biden can't change much. Well, yeah, I don't think it's just the MAGA people fighting him constantly. I don't think so. I think that there's several actions that the Biden administration can take and aren't taking. If they can take all this effort, if they can put an effort to bring up accounts current, right? Clearly, they have some type of power to be able to do that, right? Since they did it. Why take such a milquetoast approach when you can do more? Or at least put forth the effort to demonstrate to people that you are doing what you can. Like, I completely understand what you're saying. I always, by default, the Republican Party is going to block whatever he does. By default, they're already, at fault in terms of like they have that shoulder to blame. They have that blame to shoulder, right? That's just by default. I'm talking about the current government that is currently in power, that has some type of ability to do something, and they're not. Yes, we just talked about this, Alio. Yes, that is horrifying. We just talked about this. Clearly, they have some type of ability to catch people up to current. And yeah, where I was going with this, I don't know. For some reason, I keep losing my train of thought. Where I was going with this is you do everything right and all that, right? And then, you have one bad situation, one bad, life scenario where your car breaks down, or God forbid, you have a health issue, right? God forbid you have a health issue and you end up with medical bills, or you have to, you end up with car repair bills. And now what? Now your student debt is going into default. And then what happens? Well, that goes on your credit score. And guess what? That's going to be looked at when you try to get a home. Oh, and if you did the right thing to try to get a degree and get yourself into debt to the tune of tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, guess what? The bank is going to look at that and say, I don't know if we can loan money to you because you have such a high debt to income ratio. Now we can't actually approve you because your debt to income ratio is too high, or it's just at the cusp, but we're not really comfortable. You can make $1,700 rent payments, but we're not comfortable loaning you money to get a home, even though your payments will be lower because, well, you decided to do the right thing and get yourself, an education. And then that's going to go on your credit, and that's going to go against you when you try to get a home. Meanwhile, you're being then at that point forced to stay renting at a higher price, stay in that hamster wheel in perpetuity because those payments are coming. There are numerous executive order decisions Biden can pass that he won't. There's also pressures that he can place that won't. I'll agree with that. There are certainly pressures that he can continue to push, or at least feign. Jesus Christ, can we at least feign some type of action? Make me feel like I can say, all right, well, you know what? They're trying to do something. They're trying to do something. But Biden wants to ride the middle line, not rock any boats, right? But I mean, they're gonna get destroyed in the midterms. They're gonna get destroyed in the midterms. My car's broke now, and I'm gonna have to fix it myself. I hope I don't mess anything up because I can't afford to pay a professional, right? And this happens, God forbid, you have an issue with the car, and now you're stuck because you kind of need a car to get to work in order to put food on the table. This is a story for many, 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 many people. This is a story for millions of people. Yes, I saw this. To my knowledge, I thought that ghost guns were already illegal. Privately made firearms without any serial numbers. I thought that this was already illegal. Like, Biden aims at ghost gun violence with a new federal rule. Is there like a statistically, like, significant um I mean, I don't know, it seems like a big announcement from something that kind of is already in the deal, right? I thought that you can't just have firearms without serial numbers. What is this? Is this like what's going on in the government? Holy yikes. It went from 5 to 13? Jesus. Where a lot of working class immigrants get to work? Yeah, of course, it's the subway. Holy yikes. Imposing sanctions, catalyzing clean energy industries and jobs through federal sustainability. It is therefore the policy of my administration for the federal government to lead by example in order to achieve a carbon polluting free electricity sector by 2035 and net zero emissions economy wide by no later than 2050. Except we're rolling back regulations when it comes to this. That's 2021, not 2022 yet. That one might have been interesting, but anyways, the whole TLDR of this is that we need palpable, aggressive, it's something that's palpable that people can look in their pockets and see, wow, this really does impact me. Um, I think that the last time we had something to that effect was was those direct payments and the child tax credit from the American Rescue Plan. We need something like that. We need something that people can look and feel that this is actually something that benefits them. The Education Department said these borrowers will be granted a fresh start on repayment by eliminating the impact of delinquency and default and allowing them to re-enter the repayment in good standing. Delinquencies typically appear on credit reports after 90 days and defaults a year. According to higher education expert Mark Kantrowitz, the switch into a current status should be automatic for borrowers. Collection activity, including wage garnishments. Imagine like your wages being garnished for trying to do, your wages, which are already pretty bad, being threatened to be garnished because you decided to try to do the right thing. including wage garnishments and the offset of social security benefits, or you'll just get less later on down the road when you actually need it. About 30 days after the delinquency or default is removed from your credit history, you should order a free credit report to make sure the information is removed and your loans are marked as current. To avoid falling back into default, okay. Cantorits recommends borrowers should sign up for autopay once their bills resume, so that their payment is taken out of their bank account. What? What kind of advice is this? Hey Bond, how's it going? Howdy, howdy. What kind of advice is this? Oh, so to avoid going back into default, just put it on autopay, you know? Easy peasy, guys. It's that simple. Defeat student debt with this one simple trick. Defeat student loans with one simple trick. Put your stuff on autopay. How out of touch does that sound? How out of touch does that sound? Just put it on autopay. Okay, but one tiny problem. If the whole point was that people can't physically manifest the money to pay, which is why people fall back in default usually, if they're struggling and are spinning the perpetual hamster wheel, how is putting it on autopay going to fix that problem? How out of touch does that have? Do you have to be to be like, oh yeah, guys, it's just that simple, dude. Listen, click a couple of buttons on your computer, put it on autopay, and it'll all be good. And listen, if you overdraft your account because you don't have enough money, then you get charged more money on top of that each day. I mean, it's that simple. Hey, Bat Manicure. Yeah, best way to overdraft your account. Yeah, I just kind of played off that comment there. And if you overdraft your account, that's okay. We'll charge you more money. Defeat student loans with one simple trick. So that their payment is taken out of their account each month without him having to do anything. But if the money isn't there, my friends, because the economy is not doing so hot for the working class and the middle class, then there's no real point, yeah? The government has said it will turn down student loan payments back on in September, but another extension is possible. Or you can stop dilly-dallying and fix the root of the problem. Come on, man. If you still can't afford your payment by the fall, because chances are, in 4 months, unless there's some radical change in wages to make people be able to have a living, the living wages by then, and you still can't afford your payment, because chances are that will still be the case for quite a while. Just consider applying for economic hardship or unemployment deferment. Under these options, interest isn't allowed to accrue on your debt. If you don't qualify for one, you can request a general forbearance, which is just putting them again in pause in perpetuity, or for a certain amount of time. If I remember correctly, forbearance means that you get to put a pause on them. Like anything but just addressing the root of the problem and giving a huge economic boost. Okay, so forbearance allows you to temporarily suspend making principal payments or reduce your monthly payment amount for up to 12 months. Anything but just addressing the problem. This is wild. Borrowers who are... okay, so you should try to find a repayment plan that is manageable. For example, the government's income-driven repayment programs cap your monthly bill at a share of your discretionary income. Some payments wind up being as little as zero, and any remaining debt after 20 to 25 years is supposed to be forgiven. They use that term, supposed, because in reality, that's not what happens. Because people don't, they had no system to keep track of this. This is how disorganized this is. They had no system to keep track of this. So that's why it said supposed. Borrowers who are fallen behind are advised to make sure that both the education department and their loan servicer have their current contact information so they can keep, badgering you for money you don't have. Okay. So if this is possible, if payments can be, depending on your income, be as little as zero, and then any remaining debt, supposedly, allegedly, after 20 to 25 years is supposed to be forgiven, why not just accelerate that by 20 to 25 years? Why not just accelerate that forward? Push it forward. Push it forward. Give a huge economic boost to people. Give people opportunities that they wouldn't have had otherwise because they're too burdened by trying to get an education, by trying to do the right thing. Why not just accelerate that to by 20 to 25 years? Or put a plan in place that would put us down a path where in maybe like a couple of years, or maybe I don't know, by the end of 2025, all student debt is on board to be eliminated. Something, but instead we get the bare minimum, which again I'm not going to say no to. I'm not going to say no to the payments being pushed back. I'm not going to say no to bringing accounts current for 10 million people, as that is a lot of people. But you gotta cut the malarkey, Jack. You gotta cut the malarkey. Not everybody can do school. I fail to see your point, my friend. How relevance? I'm talking about the people that did go to school. The people that did graduate and did the right thing. What are you talking about? What is the relevance? Biden announced will announce emergency waiver on summer ethanol ban to combat rising gas prices. "11 channels who hate opposing views." You didn't answer my question. President Joe Biden on Tuesday will announce new steps in his administration is taking to address rising gasoline prices, which again, nothing of these steps include rating in the gas companies who are undoubtedly price gauging, undoubtedly, across the country, including emergency measures to expand biofuel sales, countering rising rising gas prices amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Okay. The president is slated to announce that the EPA will issue an emergency waiver permitting the year-round sale of E15, which contains 15% ethanol blended, on a trip to Menlo, Iowa, where he'll visit Poet Bioprocessing, a biofuels plant that specializes in the creation of bioethanol. The sale of E15 is usually prohibited from June to mid-September because of air quality concerns. So, okay. Why? There's regulations for this for a purpose. You didn't answer my question. Hey, Dakapolygon, how's it going? Damn, you're really bad at this, dude. Are you incapable of answering a question? The sale of E15 is usually prohibited because of obvious air quality concerns. Of course, under President Trump, the EPA issued an order allowing permanent year-round sales of the biofuel, but that order was overturned by the U.S. Court of Appeals. Biden's announcement, a senior official said that is distinct from his predecessors, because it's based on the current circumstance, which is a fuel supply emergency. I'm gonna press X to doubt on that one, my friends. I'm gonna press X to doubt. Look, there are a multitude of ways in which you could handle this that do not involve expanding the production of fossil fuels. There are numerous ways that you can do this. Start by reining in these companies who are, undoubtedly, there must be some level of price gauging that's going on here. And didn't the fossil fuel industry have record profits? Per White House estimates, E15 sales could save consumer 10 cents per gallon on average while reducing reliance on foreign fuels. Also, okay, so I'm going to be very ignorant here, but is E15 worse for your engine? For some reason, I've had that impression in my head. Is E15 worse for your engine or better for your engine? Because there are domino effects that could happen if it's worse. I can't remember which one. If it's worse, then you're going to cause more problems down the road. If it's better, then I'll take the L. EPA will also take steps to facilitate the expanded use of biofuel, including outreach to states and modifications E15 fuel label pumps, fuel pump labeling at gas stations across the country. During Monday's news briefing, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki signaled that suspending summer ban on gasoline with higher blends of ethanol was on the menu of options. There's just so much that can be done that doesn't involve doing this. Not good. The move followed Biden's announcement of last month of a historic release from oil from U.S. reserves, including 1 million barrels a day for the next 6 months as part of the, quote, wartime bridge. What? To increase oil production as U.S. and global oil efforts ramp back after the coronavirus pandemic. This is completely the opposite direction. This is what frustrates me about the whole thing. Like, people, instead of using this opportunity to start talking about how we can avoid any further issues with fossil fuels by trying to decouple ourselves from it, instead, we are heading in the wrong direction by saying we need to double down on it. When there could be conversations being had about, okay, look, dependency on fossil fuels is not good. It's putting our energy in our ability to have energy in jeopardy. It's becoming more and more outdated, the technology. We have better ways of really becoming energy independent. Let's just try to move towards that path. Instead, we get this. The president believes, quote, the president believes that the action of a dictator half a rolled away should not impact what families pay at the pump here at home. Okay, but Can we get like a breakdown as to why prices here are skyrocketing to that point, right? Because I could concede that maybe there might be some price elevation, but something tells me that undoubtedly in a world that revolves around creating the most profit every quarter, something tells me that there is some type of price gauging going on. The White House said in a fact sheet announcing that the action was shared with CNN. Today's actions also reinforced the Biden-Harris administration goal of achieving real energy independence. Okay. And a commitment to... Wait, hold on. You can't simultaneously tell me... You can't simultaneously sign a 2021 executive order telling me that, you know what? This whole idea of becoming sustainable and renewable, I don't know about that anymore. Instead, we get this announcement from the Biden administration achieving real energy independence. Jesus Christ. And commitment to a long-term strategy to spur smart development and adoption of sustainable homegrown fuels. So where do renewables fit into this? Is that what you're talking about? Or is this just like vague posting, alluding to the idea we're supposed to extrapolate that? Because I hate to break it to you, but long-term strategy, if the long-term strategy to, quote, spur smart development and adoption of sustainable homegrown fuels includes, like, how to make things at the perpetuation of fossil fuels, I hate to break it to you, but that's not that's not smart development or sustainable or a good long-term strategy. If the long-term strategy does not involve getting ourselves off of fossil fuels, then sheesh. Right, just do autopay. True.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the White House for this important and significant set of announcements. It's great to be with all of you today to talk a little bit about how we as an administration can alleviate the burden of medical debt for American families. I want to start us off and frame this issue by centering on a core point that will animate everything that we talk about today.
I don't care.
Stamping out medical debt is as good for families as it is good economics.
Yes.
And this results in a devastating spiral. Further,
yeah, we literally talked about how student debt is the same thing. Are they going to eliminate it?
And that is why our administration is prioritizing this issue of medical debt. First, by taking action to protect consumer rights. You know, when I was Attorney General of California...
I don't care. Are you going to eliminate student debt, yes or no?
I drafted and helped pass. The same, of course, is true when we are looking at this issue. Folks need to have the rights, and if they're not there, let's put them into law.
What?
And let's also make sure their rights are protected and that they are informed of their rights. For example, on this issue of medical debt, we know that many people are not aware that they have a right to dispute inaccurate charges on their medical bills.
The problem is medical bills in the first place. The problem is the medical bill itself. And let's increase the chances of access to medical debt. Yeah, the problem is the debt itself. The existence, the possibility that you will get a bill is the problem.
or how to file such a dispute. To submit a lot of documents, obstacle to accessing.
Is doing to help others struggle to pay the medical debt.
What?
Can we hear it for Alex? Please have a seat. Can we hear it for Alex? Thank you, Alex. You know, I was saying to some of my team in the back, I mean, Alex, first of all, thank you for the courage of telling your story. It's a story that so many in our country can tell. And he really highlights an important facet of this issue, which is necessarily when we're talking about that much debt, it's because there has been the need for a lot of medical care.
Correct.
And invariably, then, anyone who has needed that level of medical care over that period of time
Correct.
should be allowed the dignity of being able to focus on their recovery
Correct.
and not, in addition to the burden of recovery, deal with the burden of debt
Correct.
associated with a medical need. That
Correct.
really does, Alex. You really hit it on the head in terms of what is at the very essence of this issue, in terms of the overlay between the issue of medical care, dignity, and debt.
Yes. So eliminate it.
Unfair debt, the accumulation of debt that really, in
Yes,
so many ways,
it's
paralyzes so many people.
Damn.
So, Alex, your story is a reminder.
So, just to be clear, there's a obvious understanding that just this isn't right. There's a undeniable understanding that this isn't right. Yeah, no kidding. So fix it.
Reminder of the tremendous burden that medical debt forces on so many people. And today it is my honor to be joined by a group of leaders who are fighting to ease that burden. Members of our cabinet and our administration, advocacy groups, and healthcare professionals. So thank you all for being here. The president and I know that one of the biggest challenges facing working families today is the rising cost of living. Helping Americans lower their
Yes.
monthly bills is one of our administration's top priorities. And that is why we are here today. There are so many people in our country with stories like that of Alex. So many people, some of whom you might know, who were rushed to the hospital because their appendix burst or because they took a nasty fall, and who are still paying off the bill years later.
Correct.
Parents who have
So
sat in
fix
a
it.
hospital parking lot afraid to bring their child through those sliding glass doors of the emergency room because they knew if they walked through those sliding glass doors, they may be out thousands of dollars that they don't have.
Tens of thousands.
Seniors who have to cut their pills in half because they cannot afford more medication. Now remember, they're cutting a pill in half, but they've been prescribed for the sake of their health and well-being that they need to take the whole pill. So let's think about what that means in terms of their health condition. And who, because they cannot afford to
It means that we have a system that is fundamentally shaking down people for their medical needs. That's what's happening. We're being shaken down. We're being told your money or your health.
actually take the full prescription, cut that pill in half, and then get sicker and sicker as a result. Family
Yes.
members with a chronic condition, such as heart disease, cancer, or diabetes, that requires regular treatment and care. Treatment and care that can cost hundreds or thousands of dollars a week.
And that's
which
the
most people cannot
problem.
afford. In fact, 1 in 3 adults in our country struggles with unpaid medical bills. 1 in 3. And of those adults, a disproportionate number are Black or Latino. I have met so many people in so many communities in our nation who are struggling with this burden, many of whom are managing an illness or an injury at the same time, and who stay up at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if they will ever be able to pay off their medical debt. No one in our nation should have to endure that. No one in our
So
nation
fix
should have to
it.
go bankrupt just to get the health care they need. And that is why our administration is prioritizing this issue of medical debt.
How?
First, by taking action to protect consumer rights. You know, when I was Attorney General of California, I drafted and helped pass what we named the Homeowner Bill of Rights to protect consumers from predatory lending and unfair foreclosure practices. It was one of the first bills of its kind in our country, and the purpose behind that bill was quite simple.
So you recognize that maybe putting something so crucial like housing ends in disaster. Why would you think this would be any different? We don't need more funding for the police, and we don't need student debt. These are horrible ideas. Yeah, we can. Yeah, I agree.
Homeowners must be informed of their rights, and those rights must be protected. The same, of course, is true when we are looking at this issue. Folks need to have the rights, and if they're not there, let's put them into law, and let's also make sure their rights are protected
How?
and that
Policy.
they are informed of
I
their
need policy.
rights. For example, on this issue of medical debt, we know that many people are not aware that they have a right to dispute inaccurate charges on their medical bills, or how to file such a dispute, which is why today the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is launching a new public education campaign to help consumers understand and take full advantage of their rights. Our administration is also taking action against the bad actors, the folks who violate consumers' rights, to force people to pay medical debt. Some debt collection companies harass consumers with dozens of phone calls a week.
So, are you going to eliminate student debt and make it illegal for companies to have the ability to harass you nonstop? Or are you just going to cut off that problem at the source? The source is the idea, the concept of medical debt in the first place.
Remember what we are talking about. Folks who are in the process of attempting to recover from an illness, for example. Debt collectors that try to collect on debt that has already been paid. Some who pose as law enforcement officials or threaten consumers with jail time.
Okay, but isn't that already illegal?
That sort of harassment and intimidation is unethical, and often it is illegal. And that is why the CFPB has made it a priority to hold debt collectors accountable. Our administration is helping Americans pay off their medical debt also.
How?
Since the beginning of the pandemic, the Department of Veterans Affairs has canceled or refunded about $1 billion in medical co-payments for over 1.5 million veterans.
For veterans, yes. Amazing. That's great. That's great. Now do that. But for everybody. The GOP would never allow it? Nope. And there are Democrats who are against universal health care. They're not off the hook from this.
Many more veterans are eligible for debt relief, but
Great.
the process to apply is often consuming in terms of time and confusing in terms of understanding how it works. The application also can only be completed on paper as it currently exists, and it requires veterans to submit a lot of documents to prove, to prove their income and eligibility. So this
Hey,
is
Hester,
why
thank you for the
VA,
follow. I appreciate
under
that.
the great leadership of all those who are here, has decided to streamline the process for applying for debt relief. Often, what they are doing is understanding that we have to make it easier. We have to make it easier, and we have the ability to do that. So part of what they are doing is offering a new, easy-to-use online application. And they're setting a simple income threshold for eligibility. So if you are a veteran who has medical debt, please go online and consider applying. And if you know a veteran, please make sure that
Great. That proves to me that you can put programs in place. That proves to me that you can put programs in place that would eliminate that would eliminate medical debt. There are programs that you can do to eliminate medical debt. So just do that across the board.
they are aware of this opportunity. We should be clear. Most people with medical debt want to pay it off. To do so, they need financial resources. And too often, having medical debt can be an obstacle to accessing those resources. This is in large part because of the negative effect medical debt can have on credit scores. So credit scores...
Yes. And then that F's you in so many other ways. Yes, and then that F's people in so many ways. So eliminate it.
essentially are supposed to measure how responsible you are with your money. That's what it's supposed to do. So somebody can decide if you are a good bet, if you want to borrow money, so that people can decide, are you entitled to certain benefits if you are responsible with money, or maybe not entitled to those benefits if you're not responsible with money. Having medical debt because you were sick or injured should not lower your credit score
It shouldn't
and
be a
make it
thing,
more difficult
period.
to secure the help you need to get out of debt. It's not logical. Last month,
No,
the
it's
three
not
largest
logical.
credit reporting agencies announced that they will no longer include medical debt in credit scores if an individual has paid their debts, has unpaid debts less than a year old, or has accrued less than $500 in debt. This is an important first step forward, and one that the president and I applaud. Credit
It's fundamentally missing the entire problem. It's just going right over their heads. Right, when you return the machine to Viet any leftist bills. Yeah, but it's not just Tucky. It's not just our good friend Tucky.
reporting agencies must continue to work toward completely erasing the effects of medical debt on credit reports, and our administration intends to keep an eye on that progress. At the same time, our administration has directed federal agencies, whenever possible, to eliminate medical debt as a factor in accessing federal resources. For example, the Department of Agriculture is leading the way by no longer considering medical debt when guaranteeing loans through its Rural Housing Service. Medical debt makes it more difficult for so many people to afford the necessities of life, to pay the rent.
Damn. So get rid of it.
And car bill to keep the lights on and put food on the table. President Biden and I believe that every person has a right to affordable health care. That is why, in addition to the announcements we are making today, we are continuing to fight to improve financial assistance under the Affordable Care Act, to close the Medicaid coverage gap, and to empower Medicare to negotiate lower prescription drug prices for all Americans. And that is why we will also continue to fight so that all people have the opportunity to succeed and to thrive, free of the burden of medical debt.
But that's
I
not...
thank you all again, all the leaders who are here.
None of what she said involves eliminating debt. Not a single policy prescription that would eliminate or put us on a path to provide meaningful relief. None of those were policy prescriptions, save maybe for what they did to with the Veterans Affairs Office, which is great. And now do that, but for the nation. Right? Do that, but for everybody. Understanding the problem and fundamentally missing the point all at the same time. How do they manage to do this? Amazing. Imagine having Medicare for all and free college. Holy shit, that would have. Most people would call that the developed world. Most people would call that like normal. That's not like a, out of this world experience. I mean, for here, yes, but most people would just be like, oh yeah, that's kind of like standard procedure. All right, folks, we've got not too much time, so I'm going to speed run. We're going to speed run some of this. So yeah, wrong approach here. Instead of doubling down, we should be seeking alternatives and getting ourselves into more into conversations about renewable and sustainable solutions that do not involve fossil fuels. Period. Here, surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise, another conviction. This one for a former police officer in Virginia. Alright, we need to get to the real nitty-gritty, alright, folks? Because we've got to... But how much margin of profit from insurance? Some will argue that can't change the system. Well, then that's not acceptable. I'm really not interested in profits for health insurance companies. I'm really not interested in profits for health insurance companies. For all, if it was up to me, they wouldn't exist. Health insurance companies wouldn't exist. Um, Not really interested in caring about their profits. I've seen firsthand how little they care, so I don't care. And if it is true that some will argue that the system, that you can't change the system at all, then that tells me that that fundamentally at the core, it's done. It's broken. It's broken. Something new will have to come. If some are arguing that there's literally nothing we can do, that there's literally nothing, then fundamentally, then it's got to change. If there's nothing we can do, it's got to change. An alternative must be found. Folks, here's the link to the IPCC report. Page 75. I have to believe it has to change, it just doesn't work. Yeah, well, yeah, so fundamentally, if it can't, then it's gotta go. This isn't sustainable. This isn't sustainable in any way, shape, or form. It's not good economics. It's not good for people's health. It's not even efficient. Effective management of climate risks. Top of page 75, folks. Effective management of climate risks is dependent on systematically integrating adaptations across interacting climate risk and across sectors. Very high confidence integrated pathways for managing climate risk will be more suitable when low regrets anticipatory options are established jointly across sectors in a timely manner. They are feasible and effective in their local context. Path dependencies are avoided in order not to limit future options for climate resilient development, and when maladaptation across sectors are avoided. Integration of risks across sectors can be assisted by mainstreaming climate considerations across institutions and decision-making processes. High confidence. Many forms of climate adaptations are likely to be more effective, efficient, equitable when organized collectively and with multiple objectives. Using different assessments, modeling, monitoring, and evaluation approaches can facilitate understanding of societal implications of trade-offs. Wait, I think we read this. Okay, here we are. Yes, we actually read this paragraph here. Considering socioeconomic developments and climatic changes beyond 2100 is particularly relevant for long-lived investment decisions such as new harbors, airports, urban expansions, and flood defenses to avoid lock-ins. Monitoring climate change, socioeconomic development, and progress on implementation is critical for learning about adaptation success and maladaptation, and to assess if and when and what further actions are needed for informing iterative risk management. For some reason, my ability to scroll is always messed up on this mouse. Okay. Enhancing climate literacy on impacts and possible solutions is necessary to ensure widespread, sustained implementation and adaptation by state and non-state actors. High confidence. Ways to enhance climate literacy and foster behavioral changes include access to education, information Programs using the performing and visual arts, storytelling, training workshops, participatory three-dimensional modeling, climate services, and community-based monitoring. The use of indigenous... Oh yeah, we did read this. The use of indigenous knowledge and local knowledge represents and codifies actual experiences and autonomous adaptations and facilitates awareness, clarifies risk perception, and enhances the understanding of adoption of solutions. Narratives can effectively communicate climate information and link this to societal goals and the actions needed to achieve them. High confidence. Political commitment and follow-through across all government levels are important to accelerate the implementation of adequate and timely adaptation actions. High confidence. Implementing actions often requires large upfront investments of human and financial resources and political capital by public, private, and societal actors. Whilst the benefits of these actions may only become visible in the mid to long term, medium confidence examples that can accelerate adaptation action include accountability and transparency mechanisms, monitoring and evaluation of adaptation progress, social movements, climate litigation, building the economic case for adaptation and increased adaptation finance, medium evidence, high agreement. Deep-rooted transformational adaptation opens new options for adapting to the impacts and risks of climate change. High confidence by changing the fundamental attributes of a system, including altered goals or values, and addressing root causes of vulnerabilities. AR6 focuses on 5 systems of transition to a just climate-resilient future: societal, energy, land and ocean ecosystem, urban and infrastructure, and industrial. These transitions call for transformations in existing social, technological, and environmental systems that include shifts in most aspects of society. Managing transition risk is a critical element of transforming society, increasingly acknowledging the importance of transparent, informed, and inclusive decision-making, and evaluation, including a role for indigenous knowledge and local knowledge. It's almost like all the stuff that I've been talking about seems to be manifesting itself in these in these reports, right? A subset of adaptation options have been implemented that cut across sectors to enable sector-specific adaptation responses. These options, such as disaster risk management, climate services, and risk sharing, increase the feasibility and effectiveness of other options by expanding the solution space available. High confidence. For example, carefully designed and implemented disaster risk management and climate services can increase the feasibility and effectiveness of adaptation responses to improve agricultural practices, income diversification, urban and critical services, and infrastructure planning. Very high confidence. Risk insurance can be a feasible tool to adapt to transfer climate risk and support sustainable development. High confidence. They can reduce both vulnerability and exposure, support post-disaster recovery, and reduce financial burden on governments, households, and businesses. Transformations for energy include the options of efficient water use and water management, infrastructure resilience, and reliable power systems, including the use of intermittent renewable sources such as solar, wind, with the use of storage. Very high confidence. These options are not sufficient for the far-reaching transformation required in the energy sector, which tends to focus on technological transitions from a fossil base to a renewable energy regime. Resilient power infrastructure is considered for energy generation, transmission, and distribution systems. Distributed generation utilities such as microgrids are increasingly being considered, with growing evidence of their role in reducing vulnerability, especially within underserved populations. High confidence. And yes, actually, I want to give a quick shout out to the Beckosphere. I believe she actually talked about this I think she did an interview with somebody. I remember watching that video, and what she said what she was saying is that basically these renewable microgrids not only give us better resilience, but are more safe as well. Infrastructure resilience and reliable power are particularly important in reducing risk in peri-urban and rural areas when they are supported by distributed generation of renewable energy by isolated systems. High confidence. The option for resilient power infrastructure is considered for all types of power generation sources and transmission and distribution systems. Efficient water use and water management, especially in hydropower and combined cycle power plants in drought-prone areas, have a high feasibility, high confidence with multiple co-benefits, medium confidence. Water-related adaptation in the energy sector is highly effective up to 1.5 degrees but declines with increasing warming, medium confidence. Adaptation options that are feasible and effective to the 3.4 billion people living in rural areas around the world and who are especially vulnerable to climate change include the provision of basic services, livelihood diversification, and strengthening of food systems. High confidence. Vulnerability of rural areas to climate risk increases due to long distances to urban centers and the lack of or deficient critical infrastructure such as roads, electricity, and water. Providing critical infrastructure, including through distributed generation power systems through renewable energy, has provided many co-benefits. High confidence. Biodiversity management strategies have social co-benefits, including improved community health, recreational activities, and ecotourism, which are co-produced by harnessing ecological and social capital to promote resilient ecosystems with high connectivity and functional diversity. Yeah. Strengthening and local regional food systems through strategies such as collective trademarks, participatory guarantee systems, and city-rural links build rural livelihoods, resilience, and self-reliance. Medium confidence. Livelihood diversification is a key coping and adaptive strategy to climate and non-climatic risks. There is high evidence, medium agreement, that diversifying livelihoods improves incomes and reduces socioeconomic vulnerability, but feasibility changes depending on livelihood type, opportunities, and local context. Key barriers to livelihood diversification include social, cultural, and institutional barriers, such as well as inadequate resources and livelihood opportunities that hinder full adaptive possibilities of existing livelihood diversification practices. Adaptation can require system-wide transformation of ways of knowing, acting, and lesson drawing to rebalance the relation between humans and nature. The relation between human and nature. True. High confidence. Indigenous knowledge and local knowledge, ecosystem-based adaptation, and community-based adaptation are often found together in effective adaptation strategies and actions that can together generate transformative sustainable changes, but they need the resources, legal basis, and an inclusive decision process to be most effective. Medium confidence. Governance measures that transparently accommodate science and indigenous knowledge can act as enablers of such co-production. Factors motivating transformative adaptation actions including risk perception, perceived efficacy, social cultural norms and beliefs, and previous experiences of impacts, levels of education and awareness. Medium confidence. Risk responsibilities across the globe are unclear and unevenly defined. High confidence. In the face of climate change, assigning risk responsibility helps approaches for pursuing deliberate transformation, one seeking rapid system-wide change and the other a collection of incremental actions that together catalyze desired system changes. Climate resilient development implements greenhouse gas mitigation and adaptation options to support sustainable development. With accelerated warming, the intensification of cascading impacts and compounded risks above 1.5 degrees warming, there's a sharply increasing demand for adaptation and climate resilient development linked to achieving SDGs, equity, and balancing societal priorities. There's only one limited opportunity to widen the remaining solution space and take advantage of many potentially effective yet unimplemented options for reducing society and ecosystem vulnerability. High confidence. Prevailing development pathways are not advancing climate resilient development. Very high confidence. Societal choices in the near term will determine future pathways. Yeah. So, the whole point being is that when you've got, at least here, when you've got an administration that is vague posting about the sustainability of energy, fossil fuels, or whatever, that's not good, okay? Why do they post all the graphic pics and videos after just shooting to the point where no matter what social media you open, it's there? Yikes. Yeah, I mean, something so horrifying, such as that incident, most likely is just going to be everywhere. Yikes. With progressive climate change. Okay. Prevailing societal choices in the near term will affect and will determine future pathways. There's no single pathway or climate that represents climate resilient development for all nations, actors, or scales, as well as globally, and many solutions will emerge locally and regionally. Yeah, this is the importance of getting involved in your local government. Global trends, including rising income inequality, urbanization, migration, continued growth in greenhouse gas emissions, land use change, human displacement, and reversals of long-term trends towards increased life expectancy, run counter to the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, as well as efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to a changing climate. With progressive climate change, enabling conditions will diminish, and opportunities for successful transitioning systems for both mitigation and adaptation will become more limited. This is a nice way of saying failure to address this problem eventually, as this progresses, will leave us with very limited to no possibilities. And yeah, vaya con Dios, everybody, at that point. That's for Clicks True. Hey, how's it going? Howdy, howdy. Welcome. System transitions can enable climate... for our more limited high confidence investments for economic recovery from COVID offer opportunities to promote climate resilient development. High confidence. System transitions can enable climate resilient development when accompanied by appropriate enabling conditions and inclusive arenas of engagement. Very high confidence. 5 systems transitions are considered energy, industry, urban and infrastructure, land and ecosystems, and societal. Advancing climate resilient development in specific contexts may necessitate simultaneous progress on all 5 transitions. Collectively, these system transitions can widen the solution space and accelerate and deepen the implementation of sustainable development, adaptation, and mitigation actions by equipping actors and decision makers with more effective options. High confidence. For example, urban ecological infrastructure linked to appropriate land use mix, street connectivity, open and green spaces, and job house proximity provides adaptation and mitigation benefits that can aid urban transformation. Medium confidence. These systems transitions are necessary precursors for fundamental climate and sustainable development transformations, but can simultaneously be outcomes of transformative action. Enhancing equity and agency are cross-cutting considerations for all transitions. Such transitions can generate benefit across different sectors and regions, and provided they are facilitated by appropriate enabling conditions, including effective governance, Lamau, policy implementation, Lamau, innovation and climate development finance, which are currently insufficient. That is a very generous statement. System transitions are highly feasible. For energy system transitions, there's medium confidence in the high feasibility of resilient infrastructure and efficient water use for power plants, and high confidence in the synergies of this option with mitigation. For coastal system transitions, there is medium to high confidence that ecosystem conservation and biodiversity management are increasing adaptive and ecological capacity with socioeconomic co-benefits and positive synergies with carbon sequestration, which is massive. However, opportunity cost can be a barrier. For land ecosystem transitions, there is high confidence on the role of agroforestry to increase ecological and adaptive capacity once economic, cultural barriers and potential land use change trade-offs are overcome. There is high confidence in improved cropland management and its economic feasibility due to improved productivity. For efficient livestock systems, there is medium confidence on the high technological and ecological feasibility. Yeah, that one's a little bit tricky there. An emphasis. I'm an empathic person and sensitive. It can really mess with my psyche seeing all that. Oh yeah, 100%. I bet. 100%. And you can't escape it because it's everywhere. Right? So best thing is to hang out here and at least here for another minute or so. And we'll go to somewhere that's not covering that story. All right, how about that? High confidence, true. It feels like I'm getting non-consensual glimpse into someone else's trauma. Yeah. For urban and infrastructure transitions, there's a medium confidence for sustainable land use and urban planning. There's high confidence in the economic and ecological feasibility of green infrastructure and ecosystem services, as well as sustainable urban water management. Once institutional barriers in the form of limited social and political acceptability are overcome. Oh man, that is so generous. Oh man, that is the most generous milquetoast statement. Okay, social safety nets, disaster risk management, and climate services and population health and health systems are considered as overarching adaptation options due to their applicability across all system transitions. There's medium to high confidence in the high feasibility of disaster risk management and use of demand-driven and context-specific climate services, as well as in the socioeconomic feasibility. What? The socioeconomic feasibility of social safety nets, improving health systems through enhancing access to medical services, and developing or strengthening surveillance systems have high feasibility when there's a robust institutional and regulatory framework. Yeah, this is a very long-winded way of saying, listen, we need universal healthcare systems because they are, when implemented correctly and funded correctly, they actually do enhance the ability to get healthcare, and it's cheaper. Yeah. Priorities, people. Priorities. That's right. This is a safe space where instead of where we can talk about climate change and whatnot. Conservatives are posting Democrat-run cities and they want to defund the police, while liberals are arguing over which committee just got hate crime. Jeez. We went over an article kind of debunking that idea of the whole quote Democrat-run cities. When they actually did the numbers on that, it actually is the opposite, which is hilarious to me. Alright folks, unfortunately I've got to get going because of course I need some time to get myself situated for work. As you can see, I'm not in my usual studio place. So I have to get myself situated for work. Folks, I do appreciate you guys hanging out here. You guys are what makes this channel grow. I appreciate it. Thank you so much to the Benjamin P. Dixon Show for the massive raid. Massive raid. Thank you all for the follows. Thank you for the support. What's your normal job? I just do regular customer service, at home. Thanks, man. Thank you for hanging out, Dr. Dragon Rider. Appreciate it. Thank you, Heat. I appreciate you hanging in here. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button on your way out. It really does help us out, and you get 5 free emotes, yeah? Take care, but thank you so much. Bud, thank you so much. Thank you for hanging out here. Appreciate you. Don't forget to hit the follow button. Join us on the Discords. Join us on the YouTubes. Okay? Take 5 seconds and hit that subscribe button. It really does help us out, and spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And join us for Saturdays, pending this one, at noon Eastern Time. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. Alright, folks. Let's see if we can find some sanctuary here. Okay, so Chap seems pretty chill. That's always a good bet. Alright, folks, hang tight. We are heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.